when it comes to the digestion process. If you occasionally feel that you're having difficulty digesting certain foods, you're likely to feel better by drinking coconut water. It prevents indigestion while also reducing the occurrence of acid reflux due to its high concentration of fiber. See you next time on Betcha Didn't Know. Compliments of Sigismund Consultants Inc.
Drink Pepsi Black for max taste, no sugar. Pepsi Black time, 18 hours.
The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news comes to you compliments of KFC. It's finger licking good. Happy 52nd Republic Anniversary, Guyana. With the news, I am Ruth Wilson. Good evening. First, the highlights. The People's National Congress Reform is accusing government of blocking investors whose policies differ from the administration's. The president says it's time Guyanese be committed to hard and thorough work. In the region, a European Union election observer mission says that there must be clear separation of powers. And Antigua and Barbuda's opposition says the government can afford to lower taxes. Details of these and other stories, including international news from the BBC, in a moment.
Is it a special occasion? Are you on a budget but still want a filling and also mouth-watering meal? Look no further. KFC is here for you at 9 locations and 6 drive-thrus, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, which now delivers from Shore Base to Little Diamond. Call 632-0533, 6080162, or 503-3591. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
And now for the news in detail. Leader of the People's National Congress Reform, PNCR, Aubrey Norton, is accusing the government of blocking certain investors. He leveled the charge in a message to mark Guyana's 52nd Republic anniversary.
On a previous occasion, I drew attention to the very vulgar and despicable practice of this government of discriminating against private investors who might hold policy positions that differ from theirs. We are aware that many local investors have been frustrated and in some cases being prevented from making investments that can create jobs and help grow this economy without depending on oil and gas. This short-sightedness and growing practice of economic discrimination must be condemned and stopped. It affects our ability to build a better, stronger, and more prosperous Guyana for all Guyanese.
The PNCR leader did not name any company that has not been allowed to invest in Guyana because its policies are not in line with those of the People's Progressive Party. President Irfanali is urging Guyanese to work hard and abide by workplace rules. Addressing the 52nd Republic Anniversary flag-raising ceremony, he also called on Guyanese to focus on safety as the country expands its position in the global oil and gas sector.
We should be thinking about how to advance new growth poles and centers, ensuring that every region benefits from the prosperity that is coming. To accomplish this requires a completely different attitude. The way we view safety, standards, and work ethics must all be addressed in creating the right attitude for a successful future.
Lateness, absence, and failure to properly carry out assigned tasks are among major problems that employers in Guyana face. The opposition, a Partnership for National Unity, Alliance for Change, APNU AFC, has taken steps for local government minister Nigel Dharamlal to face disciplinary action for a dildo remark that had been directed against a parliamentarian. The coalition wants him to be expelled from the National Assembly. APNU AFC parliamentarian Kathy Hughes wants Mr. Dharam Lal to be referred to a disciplinary committee for hurling abusive language at his parliamentary colleagues. During consideration of the 2022 estimates, the local government minister blurted out the words, and I quote, "You got to get a dildo. That's what you're looking for." End of quote. Ms. Hughes described the utterance as vulgar, lewd, distasteful, misogynistic, and unprecedented in the House, arguing that Mr. Dharam Lal's utterances have brought the National Assembly into disrepute, mockery, and ridicule. Ms. Hughes wants House Speaker Manzoor Nadir to send the matter to a disciplinary committee. You're with us on News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. It is 18 hours 5. We now turn to news in the region. Venezuela must reinforce its separation of powers, especially the independence of its judicial branch, to give more autonomy to its electoral commission and improve the voting process. This is according to the European Union's Electoral Observation Mission. The recommendation is among 23 included in the mission's final report on regional and local elections that took place last November, the first time in 15 years that EU observers were present at a Venezuela vote. The judicial independence of courts in Venezuela has been under scrutiny by non-governmental organizations and the Organization of American States, which may say even the Supreme Court operates in coordination with the government of President Nicolas Maduro. The Supreme Court ordered a rerun of the November contest for governor of Barinas State, disqualifying opposition candidate Freddy Superlano, who looked set to win. Decisions about whether candidates can run are typically made by the Electoral Commission. The opposition won the seat in January in a rescheduled vote that was unobserved by the mission because visas for their staff had already expired. Maduro's government has long faced criticisms from the United States and others that it engages in anti-democratic practices. The EU, which had not sent electoral observers to Venezuela since 2006, faced criticisms from some opposition figures who said its presence implicitly legitimized the November vote. We turn to news in the Bahamas. There is no clear indication when that country will criminalize martial rape. As we hear in this report from our News Bahamas, successive governments have failed to amend the sexual offences legislation to make rape involving a married couple a crime.
Whether you call it marital or otherwise, rape is rape.
Prime Minister Philip Davis vague when asked about whether his government will bring legislation to criminalize marital rape. Davis said that recommendations will be made according to the National Gender-Based Violence Law Review Reform, adding that legislation will be brought forward and enacted so long as it is deemed appropriate by Cabinet.
I don't want to get into the description of rape, and I think, and I've given the Attorney General the mandate to follow the recommendations that will flow from that conference that was held last week by the Ministry of Social Services, and we'll see what the recommendations are from there, and we'll move to enact what laws that is recommended by them to the Attorney General that is deemed appropriate by the Cabinet.
His comments come as the issue of gender-based violence remain at the forefront of national discussions. In late 2017, the UN Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women said the Bahamas was out of step with the UN's Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, as it has failed to criminalize all forms of marital rape. Successive administrations have declared a willingness to amend the Bahamas' Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act 1991 to criminalize marital rape, but no such action has been taken. Davis explained that a conference was held to chart the way forward. When asked, Davis said related legislation could be brought this term. This as he sought to defend his government's legislative agenda against critics who say they're not taking it seriously. This as the mid-year budget report will be delayed for 2 weeks.
Not everything is achieved through the parliamentary or legislative regime. There are many initiatives that don't require what I call parliamentary intervention for the purposes of enacting laws. So it is important to understand what do they mean by legislative agenda, what legislation that they think we ought to have been producing or presenting or laying on the table that has not been laid. We have our agenda and we are moving by our agenda.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
The leader of Antigua and Barbuda's opposition United Progressive Party, Harold Lovell, says lowering tax can help ease the impact of rising cost of living. Caribbean nations have been experiencing a steep increase in the prices of basic consumer items. Experts say this is due to a slowdown in supply chain due to the COVID pandemic. Containerized shipping costs have more than doubled in a number of countries. But Mr. Lovell says even if the government reduced the taxes, the National Treasury will not lose because of the volume of imports.
Because of the increase in prices, the government is pulling in more revenue.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we understand. There are three border taxes, three taxes you pay at the port. You pay the Revenue Recovery Charge, also known as the RRC. You pay import duties, and you pay the ABST. The ABST is 15%, the Revenue Recovery Charge is 10%, and the import duties vary with the different items. Now, we weren't talking about the ABST or the Revenue Recovery Charge. We're talking about the duty. And we say that you can reduce the duty, bring some relief to people, and the government would only be giving up some of the additional revenue that they'll be earning. And the same thing we said when we spoke about reducing the cost of the license fee for motor vehicles.
That was the leader of Antigua and Barbuda's opposition United Progressive Party, UPP, Harold Lovell. Barbados is searching for more oil, this time with the assistance of experts from Trinidad and Tobago. Details from Barbados Today.
A team of oil and gas specialists from Trinidad and Tobago are in Barbados to assist with an urgent oil drilling mission. Word of this from Minister of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, Kerry Simmons, who said that the specialists are helping to perforate some of the old wells in the country with a view to extracting more product. The development comes as officials here look to cushion any likely economic blow from the escalating conflict between Russia and Ukraine. On Tuesday, following weeks of extraordinary tension between the two countries and their allies, Russian President Vladimir Putin recognized the independence of two breakaway Ukrainian regions and deployed troops to both. Minister Simmons, responding to the news, urged citizens to brace for the possible impact, revealing that the most recent developments have made the fear of increased gas prices almost inevitable.
We move to news. In Trinidad and Tobago, they've lost billions of US dollars in potential revenue from LNG exports due to transfer pricing. More from TTT News Online.
The Prime Minister says Trinidad and Tobago lost billions of US dollars in potential revenue from LNG exports due to transfer pricing. In his remarks at the 6th Summit of Heads of State and GECF, he said this country's 2015 Gas Master Plan report, prepared by UK consultants Porten and Partners, confirmed the loss. Dr. Rowley said the government has been having dialogue with companies to ensure a more equitable sharing of LNG revenues.
We now have an opportunity to correct this inequality consequent on the pending expiration of LNG licenses and plans to restructure the LNG business in Trinidad and Tobago. It is in situations like this that the value of the membership of Trinidad and Tobago in the gas exporting forum takes on added significance.
Dr. Rowley said that the experience of the forum, which possesses 70% of the world's proven gas reserves, 44% of its marketed production, 52% of pipeline and 51% of LNG exports in the world, is formidable and can be of immeasurable benefit to members.
However, if we are to maintain our leading position in the global gas market in this changing environment, there must be meaningful collaboration and cooperation at all levels. Given what is at stake, I am confident that we will coalesce and continue as a cohesive force in this dynamic environment.
The Prime Minister said global gas and LNG markets have been undergoing structural changes, fluctuating between periods of convergence as well as divergence when oil prices are high.
It is 18 hours 14. We now turn to international news from the BBC.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. President Biden is to impose sanctions on a key Baltic gas pipeline, Nord Stream 2, as he toughens measures against Russia due to its stance on Ukraine. The sanctions will target the company and its corporate officers. It follows a decision on Tuesday by Germany to suspend the certification process for the recently completed pipeline. A State Department spokesman, Ned Price, praised the unity of NATO countries.
What the Germans did yesterday was to ensure that the pipeline is no longer part of the equation. So by acting together with the Germans, how we did, when we did, and the way in which we did, we have ensured that this is an $11 billion prize investment that is now a hunk of steel sitting at the bottom of the sea.
A senior US defense official has warned Russia is now fully prepared militarily to conduct a large-scale invasion of Ukraine and that this is likely. The official said President Putin had assembled nearly all the troops he needed. Ukraine's parliament has approved a 30-day state of emergency after the country's President Volodymyr Zelensky decreed one. It will come into force at midnight local time. It allows the authorities to bring in a range of restrictions, including curfews, according to what's deemed necessary in different regions. Earlier, at the United Nations in New York, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba made a plea for swift international action to avert a war.
We appreciate decisions already taken, but they're not enough to prevent Russia from changing their mind, to prevent President Putin from changing their mind. This is not enough. And we should not allow Russia the slightest possibility to think that the unbearable sanctions which were promised to them will be bearable.
Russia's UN ambassador blamed the Ukrainian government for Moscow's intervention, accusing it of sabotaging the Minsk peace deal. The head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has said 83% of people in Africa are yet to receive a single dose of a coronavirus vaccine. He was speaking virtually to a conference in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, on the first anniversary of the first delivery of the COVAX scheme in Africa. COVAX is a worldwide initiative aimed at equitable access to COVID vaccines. Ted Chabon has just been appointed by Dr. Tedros as the global lead coordinator for COVID-19 vaccine country readiness and delivery.
Firstly, COVID is not over, and we need to continue to fight the virus. While over 10 billion vaccines doses have been administered globally, only 12% of those vaccines have come to Africa. And we need to redress this imbalance. We need to redress this inequity.
BBC News. The Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has arrived in Moscow in the first visit by a Pakistani premier to Russia in more than 20 years. During the two-day visit, Mr. Khan will push for the construction of a multi-billion-dollar gas pipeline to be built in collaboration with Russian companies. The proposed pipeline from the southern city of Karachi to power plants in Punjab province will be financed by both Moscow and Islamabad. The fourth cyclone to hit Madagascar in a month has damaged houses and crops and raised fears of fresh floods. Cyclone Emnati made landfall late on Tuesday night, bringing winds of over 100 kilometres an hour. More than 30,000 people were evacuated from the southeastern coast before the storm hit. Construction workers at a building site in northern Gaza have uncovered a 2,000-year-old Roman cemetery with more than 30 tombs. The discovery was made during building work, as Lipika Pelham reports.
The first-century tombs were unearthed near the town of Beit Lahia as work began on an Egyptian-funded project to rebuild the Gaza Strip after the last major hostilities with Israel in May. Gaza's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities has sent a team of archaeologists to the site who are currently studying the gravestones and other artifacts. A ministry official said the discovery proved once again Gaza's importance as a seaport and a vital trading passage for many ancient civilizations.
Tunisia says it has withdrawn from cinemas a new film starring the Israeli actress Gal Gadot. The Culture Ministry said this followed protests that Miss Gadot was trained in the Israeli army and supports Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories. The adaptation of the murder mystery Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie has already been banned in Kuwait and Lebanon. That's the latest BBC News.
And that's the news to the moment.
On the go and need to grab a quick bite, but tired of the same dreary food? Well, KFC is here to brighten your day with a delicious, mouth-watering meal with their 9 convenient locations. Movie Town, Vlissingen Road, Mandela Avenue, Regent Street, Stabroek, Hink Street, Breedenhoop, Parika and the Amazonia Mall. Now open from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. And they're there to welcome you every day. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
To end the news, here's a recap of the highlights. The People's National Congress reform is accusing government of blocking investors whose policies differ from the administration's. The president says it's time Guyanese be committed to hard and thorough work. In the region, a European Union election observer mission says there must be clear separation of powers. And Antigua and Barbuda's opposition says the government can afford to lower taxes. The news came to you compliments of KFC. It's finger licking good.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.